Okay, so professional practice and code of ethics. Now, like I always say, the reason why it's essential for us to study ethics is because people have different upbringing. You cannot assume that the way you look at right and wrong is the way another person looks at right and wrong. Are you guys with me? And that's why it's very important for there to be unification in the study of ethics, unification in um knowing the things that are acceptable for us as child accountants and the things that are not acceptable for us as child accountants. Now, we said the nature of a profession or the word profession is associated with highly qualified group of individuals who carry out a particular type of skilled work. So before you can say this is a profession that I have, it just means that you must be carrying out a work that is referred to as a skilled work. Like, okay, not everybody can do this thing, but this person can do it. Okay. Now, we said examples of professions are doctors, surgeons, dentists, lawyers, actuaries, and accountants. So, all these people are various examples of professionals. Okay. Now, what does it mean to act professionally? To act professionally simply means to act in a way that is complying with a law of a particular body. Okay, so you can see that even doctors, they have tones for communicating some things as a doctor or even as a security personnel. So when you are saying that you are acting professionally, it means that you are not acting based on your own accord, but you are doing what your profession will have you do. Okay. Now, we said the ICAN Code of Ethics states that the principle of professional behavior imposed on chartered account there's a principle of professional behavior imposed on chartered accountants to comply with relevant laws and regulation. So this is just saying that as much as you are a chartered accountant, you have a principle of professional behavior that is imposed on you. So you cannot say, oh, this is not how we are in our family, and that's the reason why I'm behaving this way. You understand? The moment you accept that you want to practice this profession professionally, it just means that there are some things that automatically becomes your responsibility. Now we have acting in public interest. An aspect of professional body which separates there's an aspect of professional body which separates a profession from a trade. A trade is buying and selling of goods to make profit. You understand? Nobody expects anything from you when you are a trader, when you are in business. But when it becomes a profession, there are some things that they are expected to do as it relates to that profession. As an accountant, when people are saying that, oh, I don't owe anybody anything, that cannot be you, because you cannot say that you don't owe anybody anything. So we said it is therefore a responsibility of the accountancy profession not to act exclusively to satisfy the need of a particular client or employer, because your responsibility or your fiduciary responsibility is to the general public. Yes, your fiduciary responsibility is to the general public. You have a responsibility to act in public interest. If you know that if you approve this document, it has so many magomago, and those magomago is to the detriment of the general public, you should not sign it. Okay? So that is acting in public interest. Now, we said that what are the corporate code of ethics? A corporate code of ethics is a code of behavior issued by the board of directors for a company. What to note here is that it is a what? Formal written statement. Okay? Please confirm that you can see my screen. No?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So your corporate code of ethics is a formal written statement that should be distributed to all employees, and the decisions and actions in the company must be guided by that code. You understand? Every company will develop their own corporate code of ethics, which is a written statement. Okay. Now, what are the things that determine the effectiveness of a code of ethics? Because code of ethics is just one cute little document. Everybody's like, oh, okay, okay, okay. They attach it even maybe to your um employment letter, all of that and all of that. But how do we determine how effective a code of ethics will become? Number one, the directors and senior managers. So there's something we call control environment. Control environment is the level of support that your top management give to internal control. The same way applies to this. It just determines the level of support that your directors and senior managers are giving to the code of ethics. The truth is that most things that start in a company, especially when it comes to ethics, are a top-down approach. When something is a top-down approach, it means that it must first be adopted by the senior managers before normal staffs can begin to apply it. So the culture of a company drives its ethical behavior, and the code of ethics provides useful guidance. But if this is not being applied by the senior managers, then it's as good as it's not existing. Do you understand? Now, we said it has been suggested that there are three reasons why a company might develop a code of ethics. There are three reasons why a company might want to develop a code of ethics. The reasons are progressive, which means that when they've attained reason one, they want to attain reason two, and then they want to attain reason three. You understand? So what's the first one? The first one is because they want to manage for compliance. Now, managing for compliance just means that you want law and order in your organization. You understand? You make sure that your staff members are complying with the rules that you have given them. You want to make sure that people are conducting themselves in the way that they should. You just want to be right internally and with your stakeholders. That is you managing for compliance, and that's the first reason why companies used to implement a code of ethics. They just want compliance in that organization. Now, the second one is now managing stakeholders' relations. The code of ethics can be used to improve and develop relations between the company and its stakeholders by improving the trust that the stakeholders have in the company. The code might therefore include the ethical stance of the company on disclosing information to stakeholders and investing public openness and transparency. And they want to do it while respecting stakeholders. So now what we're trying to say here is that the second layer is that, okay, we have started to implement this thing in-house. What is another reason why we think that it's very important for us to implement code of ethics? And that's because we start to look at it that our company has different stakeholders, right? We have listed different kind of stakeholders that we have: your management, your creditors, your financial institutions, the government, your shareholders, all of that, right? And these different people have their expectation from that company. Therefore, one ethical stand that a company can take is to decide to pick their different stakeholders and uphold the things that those stakeholders want to uphold, right? Your shareholders want stable income. They don't want you guys to have any reputation risks. They want you guys to be in the news for good things and all of that. The tax authority wants you people to be compliant. The government wants you people to bring in revenue, right? The community wants a better standard of living. So now implementing your code of ethics, looking at the different stakeholders and what their expectation is from your company, is you managing stakeholders relation. Then the third one is creating a value-based organization. A company might recognize the long-term benefits of creating ethical value and encouraging employees to act in a way that is consistent with the values in its code of ethics. It can be argued that an ethical company is like a well-governed company. It is likely to be successful in business on the long term. However, there's no firm evidence to prove this point, and therefore, it's a matter of opinion. So this one is saying that we want to be the templates for other people. We want to create a value-based organization such that when people think about ethics, when people think about company culture, they want to think about our company. You will hear, like, I think this week I was seeing people post 5 years in pay stack, 6 years in pay stack in my Twitter. And then I was looking at some people were like, oh, well, there are some companies, even in the tech space, that if somebody has told you that they've worked for, you just want to believe that this person has a high level of you just want to believe that this person has a high level of ethics, right? Because these companies have very strong company culture. Do you understand? And I was like, oh, this is very good. Do you understand? So that is it. So even in their way they frame their business activities, right? They are saying that we want to be a value-based organization. We want to be a company that when people think about this concept, they can come and meet us. Do you understand? Do you understand these three things? See these three things, very funny. There was one diet that they asked them as 6 marks. The reasons why companies implement code of ethics, 6 marks. Let's say it together. The first one is managing for what? Managing for what?
Managing
Compliance.
for compliance.
Compliance.
As value-based organization. Okay. Now, I want to twist it. There was something that we said last week. Was he here? Was he here? I'm not sure he's here. He's not here. It's not here. Okay. Let me just move on. So what I wanted to ask is that in your management, there is also one subtopic that they'll ask you that what are the 3 criteria that your business strategy must meet? Suitability, acceptability, and feasibility. Have you guys gotten there? Suitability, acceptability, and feasibility. So that one is also very important. Don't go and mistake it for each other. Okay? Okay, so moving on, we have code of ethics for accountants. Code of ethics for accountants. Every professional accounting body has a code of conduct and code of ethics for its members and students. When an individual works for a company or a firm of chartered accountants that has its own code of ethics, there is a need for a professional code of ethics. This is because accountants have a professional duty to act in public interest. And this aspect of professional behavior is not covered by professional code of ethics. So what I'm basically trying to tell you is that there's a code of conduct and code of ethics that should be applied by each student. And when you are working for a firm, the company is supposed to come up with its own code of ethics that it wants its staff to comply by. Okay. Now, moving on, we have the ICAN code of conduct and guide for members. ICAN professional code of conduct and guide for members is called the code. ICAN professional code of conduct and guide for members is called what? The code. Now we said the code contains similar provision of the IASB framework. The code consists of similar provisions of the IASB. Expects ICAN to adopt. So basically, ICAN has adopted the IASB code, right? Now, you thought if when you're doing your corporate governance, you discuss principle-based and rule-based. Principle-based corporate governance or rule-based corporate governance are some rules are outlined for companies, and under no circumstance must they disobey these rules. Okay, that is the principle-based code of ethics. That's the rule-based code of ethics. While we have the principle-based code, the principle-based is the comply or explain rule. This is where rules are being outlined for a company, and it is either that company complies with those rules or they explain why they will not be complying with those rules. You understand? So that is the principle-based code. You talk about it more in your corporate governance, you get, but you can also use it in this ethic context, right? The rule-based and the principle-based. Now, under the principle-based, there are now 5 fundamental principles. These 5 fundamental principles, I feel like this is one of the most universal things in our in our ICAN. Even in our induction, this was one of the papers that one of the senior accountants presented. Fundamental principles again. So there are 5 fundamental principles. This is the only thing that you see in your CSME, you see it in your PM, you see it in your FR, you see it in your PSAF, right? It cuts across different courses. Now we're going to be looking at those 5 fundamental principles, okay? Both the IASB and the ICAN code of it and the ICAN code states that professional accountants are required to comply with the following fundamental principle. Number 1, we have is integrity. Number 2, objectivity. Number 3, professional competence and due care. Number 4, confidentiality. And number 5, professional behavior. People like to put independence, but independence is actually a standalone concept. Okay? Independence is actually a what? It is a what? It is a standalone concept. It is not with your fundamental principle. I know you don't know it before, so tell me thank you. So we're going to take them one by one. Okay? Integrity. Can somebody unmute and read for us, please? I am all ears. Can somebody unmute and read for us? Hello.
Uh, that picture is covering is correct, okay? A chartered accountant should be straightforward and honest in all professional and business relationships. Integrity implies not merely honesty but fair dealings and truthfulness. A very important aspect of integrity is that an accountant should not be associated with reports or any other provision of information where he or she believes that the information contains a materially false or misleading statement. The information contains a statement that has been prepared and provided recklessly without proper care or consideration for its accuracy, and there are omissions or the information is presented in a way that makes the relevant information difficult to see, with the effect that the information could be seriously misleading.
Let's read the illustration.
Okay. Illustration. Integrity simply put, accountants should not lie. So, for example, when an accountant in public practice claims to a client that they can perform a certain task, such as provide specialist corporate finance advice, then they should have the necessary skills and resources to be able to perform that work. An example of a lack of integrity in business might be where an accountant helps to cover up a fraud with false accounting entries. Objectivity.
Okay, thank you. Let's
Uh,
do discuss this one by one. Okay, thank you. So integrity just means that as an accountant, you should be somebody that is straightforward and honest. Have you done this? Yes or no? Not I should have done it. This is the reason I didn't know how to do it. And I went like this. And now I did it. Integrity does not just imply honesty, but it also implies fair dealing and truthfulness. Now, in this context, you know that there are some lies that they'll tell you that they say that they are good lies, lies that have a positive benefit for the people that are lying it, and even sometimes some lie have positive benefits for even a greater number of people than the people that are lying the lie. You understand? So that is saying that sometimes it may not be honest, right? But it may be honest, but it may not be truthful. It may not be fair, right? So that is one thing that we must stand and watch as and put hold as a watchword. We want to be people that if you tell some of your client that okay, it is morning, your client should be able to trust your decision. Your client should be able to trust what you have said, right? And be able to run with it. That is one key attribute of a chartered accountant. So we said a very important aspect of integrity is that accountants should not be associated with any report or provision that he believes that number one is false or misleading. It happens every time. Think about it. All these companies that you see auditors signing off account of, some of them, there's so many things that are going on in the company, right? But you still see accountants signing off this kind of documents, which means that they are aware that this information is misleading or fake, and they are still appending their signature on it. We have the next one. The information contains a statement that has been prepared and provided recklessly without a proper care or consideration for its accuracy. There are some omissions or information. Okay, that's the second one. You have an information that has been prepared recklessly or has not considered everything that should be considered in that report, and you are signing off. That is you not applying the principle of integrity. Okay, then the third one is that there are some omissions or information that are presented in a way that makes the information difficult to see. You understand? Like they've concealed so many things. Like, okay, we're not lying, but we're not just saying the whole truth. That is also against our professional code of ethics because the things that we do are supposed to be in a way that we are supposed to be open books as accountants. And that is very hard because, on the other hand, we are supposed to act in the best interest of our clients. So how exactly are we supposed to act in the best interest of the general public and still act in the best interest of our clients? So that is that simply put, an accountant should not lie. Don't make claims that you cannot fulfill. You understand? Okay. The second one we have is objectivity. Objectivity, I always say, is the what do you call this thing now? Objectivity is the opposite of subjectivity. What does it mean for something to be subjective? It just means that there are variable elements in that concept that can change what the result will be. But when something is objective, it just means that the factors in those elements are constant. So an accountant must not allow his professional or business judgment to be affected by bias. So by bias, conflict of interest, undue influence from others. So what does bias mean? Bias just means subjectivity. You understand? Oh, if it is Dangote that is involved, the client is Dangote. The way you respond to the clients is different. The way you will treat some particular uh communication with the clients, even if they are doing the wrong thing. You say, "Oh, Junior, you guys should not be doing that," all of that. But if it is a small firm, you want to say, "We're going to qualify our statements, we're going to leave the engagement," because you are acting under bias. So we said that an accountant must not allow his professional or business relationship to be affected by bias. He must not allow it to be affected by conflict of interest or undue influence from others. Now we're saying that this undue influence also includes undue influence from your employer. Yes, senior management sometimes are the ones that pressure accountants into changing figures. Do you guys know that? Are you aware of that? Hello?
Yes, really.
Exactly. So sometimes the pressure can even come in-house, because when we're talking about pressure, some people think that it must be an in-house, it must be an external form of pressure. But no, this pressure can also be in-house. Now we have that for accountants in public practice, objectivity is often associated with independence of mind and judgment. However, accountants in business should still try to apply the principle of objectivity in all the work they do, with the aim of being balanced, fair, and unbiased. Now, what they're trying to say is that when it comes to objectivity, they are associated with independence of mind and appearance. So this is a good time for me to talk about independence. Now, what is independence? Independence is an accountant being able to communicate his findings without any form of pressure. Okay, he can communicate his findings without any form of pressure. He is a standalone in every business decision that is being taken. He has not been influenced into taking any kind of business decision. Now, one thing we need to know is that independence is divided into what? Into two. We have independence of mind, and they say independence of appearance or judgment. So independence of mind is an accountant making sure that they are not in a state of mind, making sure that they're not in a state of mind that communicates that um they're not in a state of mind where they are not able to express their opinion freely. That is independence of appearance. They are not in a state of mind where they are not able to communicate their mind freely. You understand? Let's say because you have collected financial inducements, or because you have a personal relationship with that client, or because you were part of the people that made the management decision, or because you're also an officer of that client, or because you have financial interest in that client, you have share capital and all of that. Okay, that one, it is a war you are fighting in-house. You are fighting it with yourself. That is independence of mind. But we have independence of appearance. Independence of appearance means that, as an accountant, you must not conduct yourself like the way you behave. You must not conduct yourself in a way that shows a third party that they cannot rely on the information that you have given them. Okay? And how can you conduct yourself in a way that shows the third party that they cannot rely on the information you have given them? Let's say your third party is seeing you having personal relationship with your clients. They are seeing you and your clients going in and out. You people are going for events together. And then this client is looking at you like, I don't understand. Is this person supposed to be acting in terms of public interest, or is this person acting for shareholders, or are they already doing bestie with our director? Okay, so you don't want to put yourself in that situation whereby your client is not able to look at you and feel like, okay, oh, Adejo is going to be objective, Aisha is going to say the truth, right? Because she does not have any form of like relationship with this individual. You understand? So that is independence of appearance. okay? Or they call it independence of judgment. Now, we said, however, accountants in business they should still try to apply the principle of objectivity in all the work they do with the aim of being fair and unbiased, because it is not easy. See what I've said now. Not only do you have independence of mind, so sometimes you can have independence of mind, but somebody does not have independence of appearance for you. You don't even know where you and that person has jammed before. Abi, but the person is just looking at you like, okay, I don't trust you. Why don't you trust me? I don't know. I don't just really trust you. Can you say that's a problem? Okay. Moving on, we have the third one as professional competence and due care. Professional competence and due care. I really like this one, and I like to even separate it when I'm explaining it. So somebody can go for us. Hello, somebody can please read for us. I'm with you.
An accountant has a duty to maintain his professional knowledge and skills at a level that enables him to provide a competent professional service to his clients or employer. This includes a requirement to keep up to date with developments in areas of accounting that are relevant to the work that he does. Accountants should also act diligently in accordance with relevant technical and professional standards when doing their work for clients or employer. Technical and professional standards include standards issued by IFAC, such as International Standard on Auditing, or a similar national regulatory body. Financial Reporting Standard, IFRS, standards and regulation of the members' professional accountancy body, and relevant legislation. Professional accountants have a duty to carry out care and skills. Professional accountants have a duty to carry out with care and skills the instruction of an employee or client, insofar as these are compatible with the technical requirements for integrity, objectivity, and, in the case of accountants in public practice, independence.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so before I even start to read this, when it comes to professional competence and due care, I like to define them separately. That is even the right way to define them. The right way to define them is to define them separately. Now, how can you define them separately? Professional competence means something and due care means something. Professional competence means to have the necessary skill that you need to be able to carry out a work. That is you being competent, okay? That is professional competence. Now, what is due care? Due care is now you have that skill, but can you actively utilize the skill for the work that you have been given, okay? So, just to break it down, an accountant has a duty to maintain his professional knowledge and skill at every time to enable him to give professional advice to his clients. This includes a requirement to keep up to date with developments in the areas of accounting and in the work that he does. So this one is professional competence. You want to make sure that you have up-to-date knowledge as it relates to your work, okay? Ensuring that you have up-to-date knowledge as it relates to the work that you are doing. That is you being what? Competent, okay? Then we have due care. An accountant should act diligently in accordance with technical professional standards while doing their work for clients. Technical and professional standards include the ones that are issued by IFAC, all our international financial reporting standards, right? And all our relevant regulations. So now, when it comes to due care, they will tell you that do you use one drug to cure everybody's illness? Everybody that is sick in this life, is the only paracetamol that we are all taking? Hello?
No.
No,
No.
right? So because all of us that are ill, we're not only taking paracetamol, it just means that because you did something for a client last time and it worked, you should not be using the same approach to solve every problem. The need of every client is going to differ, and you need to make sure that you are solving the problem that every client has with the level of skill that it requires. A client may need 2 weeks just to complete an audit, right? A client may need 2 weeks to complete an audit, but it does not mean that you should now subject all your clients to using 2 weeks to complete an audit. You understand? Because you must understand the need of your client to be able to act towards them. That is due care. You understand? So let me just quickly read the last paragraph. We said that professional accountants have a duty to comply with professional care, and skill, the instruction of an employer or clients in so far as these are compatible with our ethical requirements for integrity and objectivity. So that's basically trying to say that you have a duty to carry out the work that you do with skill and care, just to make sure that it is not making you to disobey other laws. Okay? So moving on, we have confidentiality. Another person.
Confidentiality.
Mm-hmm.
Accountants must respect the confidentiality of information obtained in the course of their work. This applies to the confidentiality of information within the firm or employer's organization, as well as to confidentiality of information about clients. For accountants in professional practice, the
Mm-hmm.
requirement to keep information confidential applies in a social environment as well as at work. For example, an accountant must be careful to what he says to a good friend who also happens to be a business associate, or to a wife or husband who is also a professional accountant. And after the accountant has moved to another job, confidentiality applies to information obtained when working for a former employer. In addition, confidential information must never be used to obtain a personal benefit or a benefit for a third party. There are some circumstances when the disclosure of confidential information is permitted or
Mm-hmm.
even required by law. Confidential information about a client or employee can be disclosed if the client or employee has given permission. Before disclosing the information, however, the accountant should consider whether the disclosure might harm a third party.
Mm-hmm.
Confidential information must be disclosed to the authorities in certain circumstances. These
Mm-hmm.
circumstances depend on the law of the country. The law might also require the disclosure of confidential information to the appropriate authorities. For example, firms of accountants are expected to disclose suspicions of money laundering by a
Mm-hmm.
client to the appropriate authorities. The details of anti-money laundering laws may vary between countries. In addition, tax evasion is a crime, and accountants are required to report tax evasion by clients to the authorities. However, accountants are not expected to disclose clients' information to the authorities where they work, for the client is covered by legal professional privilege. Disclosure is also permitted when the accountant has a professional right or duty, and disclosure is not prohibited by law.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So this is confidentiality. Was quite a long read, but confidentiality just means that shut up, keep quiet, right? Accountants must respect the confidentiality of information obtained in the course of their work. This applies to the confidentiality of information within the firm or the employer's organization, as well as confidentiality about clients. So it is not only about the work that you are doing. You must be quiet about your firm, quiet about the information that you get from clients because of that firm that you work with. Okay. The requirement is to keep information confidential, number one, in every social setting. That's why auditors used to avoid social gathering. Because imagine that you know that a company is having going concern problem, but you are seeing their manager come to a party and they are spraying him. Chief they're now is now spraying money. You're like, with all the problem that you people have, you are still doing this one. Okay, so that is keep making sure that you're not disclosing clients' information, even in social setting. Then we have that the accountants must still be confidential even after he has moved jobs. Yes, because you have stopped working there does not mean that everything you know about that company, you now start saying it when you have left there. Okay, even after you have moved job. The third one is that some people can even tell you that you are supposed to be confidential. You are responsible for confidentiality if you are people's superior. So if you are leading a team of 16 people, the application of confidentiality by those 16 people is your responsibility. You must keep teaching them, training them to always keep quiet about your client's records. You must keep reminding them that it is not in their place to disclose client's information out. You understand? Okay, moving on. Now, in addition, you must never use a professional and information that you have gotten based off of a professional relationship with your clients to your advantage. You must never be found using information that you have gotten based off of your professional relationship with your clients to your advantage. That is very, very, very wrong. Okay. Now, one thing that we now know is that are we now saying that every time, even if my client is choking my neck, I should not say anything about them? Is that what you guys are saying? Then they now came and said that, oh no, that's not what we're saying. We're just saying that there are some times where there may be exemptions to this duty of confidentiality. Okay, there are times where there may be exemptions to the duty of confidentiality that we have. So what exactly are now the exemptions to the duty of confidentiality? This one is exam question. Exemptions to our duty of confidentiality. And I'd like you to even note it down. Number one, when it is required by law. When it is required by law, right? So there's some informations that are required by law, okay? And even you as an accountant, what you're supposed to do is to help your clients to make sure that they are doing what is required of them by law. Like now, audited financial statements, that information is required by law, and that is why you have to make sure that your client is providing that information as the law demands. You get. Number two, we have that confidential information about a client can be disclosed if the client has given permission. So your client can tell you that, okay, no problem, you can disclose this information. It's fine. So if your client has also given you permission, then you can disclose the information. Before disclosing, you as an accountant must not think about it that, okay, this information about it I'm about to disclose, is it wrong? Does it have any financial implication, right? Does it put my clients in a bad light? That kind of thing. So that is one of the things that you must think about, even if your client has given you a go ahead, because you are the accountant, you are the one that knows the implication of this particular information being outward. You get it. So now the third one is that sometimes the disclosure of an information might also be given to necessary authority. They will tell you that even if, just for example, EFCC come and meet you that, okay, they need a particular information from your client. Let me ask the class, will you give EFCC the information, or will you go and tell your client first before you give EFCC the information?
Tell your client first before giving the EFCC the information.
Okay, anybody with contrary opinion? Anybody with contrary opinion? Me too, that's what I used to think. But when it comes to ethics and even the principle of confidentiality, if the appropriate authority, if government has come to require an information from you, you are supposed to give government that information before telling your clients. Because if you don't give them that information, then you call your client that, oh, these people are here, they asked me for this. So what that is going to look like is like you are aiding and abetting. Do you know what they call aiding and abetting? You understand? It's going to look like you are supporting that client in the bad thing they are doing. Okay.
Sorry, I have something to say about this because it happened in my organization when EFCC came and they were trying to get some information. We actually locked them out. Because we told them they have to do it in the proper way by writing us or taking the legal way to ask all those kind of questions. Because
Mm-hmm.
at times some of these EFC officials will just come without a notice or anything because they believe they are EFCC just to come and ask question or information. We did it to them twice, and we told the lawyer to write them and follow due process. So I think at times that is 50-50, not to be too quick to
Mm,
give the
the
FCC
info.
some information because it involves a financial transaction. So that they were trying to get information about.
Mm. So see, thank you very much. Thank you. So, because what I'm going to say is that, what they've said here is that there's a clause, and the clause is that they've asked in the right way. Do you understand? If the financial authorities have asked in the right way, just like you said, that we're not saying that we're not going to give you this information, okay? Don't just barge into our office. You understand? Write us a letter, request for this information using the right way, and we're going to provide that information to you. Okay? So that's basically the condition, right, on their own part. But when it comes to the fact that they already asked the right way and then you are now being found not giving them that information, what it will look like is like you are aiding and abetting. It look like, oh, so you know that something is wrong, that's why you're not concealing, that's why you are not giving out this information. And then you know that as accountants, like I said, we have a fiduciary responsibility to the general public, you understand, that has recognized or seen you as a professional accountant, that okay, I can rely on what this person tells me. You get. So that thank you very much for noting that down, that even on their own part, they must make sure that the process, Peter Obi will say that before you are being called your excellency, the process that puts you there must be excellent. You understand? That is a requirement. So we're not saying that you cannot get this information, but the process that enables you to get it must be done in the right way. Okay. So we said for a firm of accountants, they're expected to disclose suspicions of money laundering. So in your AAA, not AAA, yeah, no, you're not doing AAA yet. Laws in your what they call it, regulatory framework, maybe in your FR, you'd have disclosed you'd have discussed non-disclosure of laws and non-disclosure, non-compliance with laws and regulation. It's called NOCLAR, NOCLAR. So it just means that when your client is being found not obeying NOCLAR, the rule is that you are supposed to go and report that client. Like your client is involved in tax evasion, human trafficking, money laundering, you understand, funding terrorism. That one does not apply to the principle of confidentiality. You are the one that is even supposed to go and report that client to the relevant authority, because you have a responsibility with disclosing information that is not compliance with laws and regulation. Okay. Now we said that the details of anti-money laundering in different countries may vary. You understand what their certain figure is, and even the way they go about recognizing something as anti-money laundering or not anti-money laundering may differ for different countries, and you want to also know those laws to be able to apply the right one to your clients. We now said that, however, accountants are not expected to disclose information to the authorities where the work of a client is covered by professional legal privilege. So they're trying to tell you that even if they are now, it's just, I always say that all these things are very dicey. That's why accounting is in social science, because social science focuses more about interactions that you have with other human beings, and there is no one size fits all. Every circumstance will keep changing, and because those circumstances are changing, you must look for the best way to go about each circumstance. You understand? So this one, they're telling you that even if somebody is not complying with laws and regulation, you must look at it that what is the duration of work that's been given to you and focus on that work that's been given to you. Now we said that disclosure is also permitted where the account has a professional duty or right to or has a professional duty or rights to disclose. is also permitted where you have a professional duty or right to disclose. So there's some information that can be given to you to disclose, and you can disclose it. Then we have that if the disclosure is not prohibited by law, you can also disclose such information. Okay, we even have this one. If the accountant wants to protect his own interests, you understand, you have audited the client. When that thing was happening, you told them that this particular thing, this is the effect it's going to have, blah, 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 blah. And then you are telling the client is saying that, no, I'll do my mind. No, I'll do my mind. The moment the matter fully materializes, are you with me? The moment the matter fully, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So if you're telling your client that this thing that you are doing is going to have an impact, this thing that you are doing is wrong, is going to affect this, and the client is saying that no, our client is proving stubborn. If it now happens that they want to carry all of you to court, you as a professional, you can disclose information just to protect yourself, protect your name. Yes, it's also one of the provisions. And accountants can disclose information for the accountant's interests, especially when it's in the context of like law. You understand, court cases, things like that. Okay. And the last one we have is professional behavior. Now, professional behavior simply means that accountants are required to observe relevant laws and regulations to avoid any action to avoid acting in a way that would discredit the profession. So, you know how me I always say things like when Christians do things that are wrong, right, on social media, on things like that, I always tell people that in the end, I always say that in the end, it is not the it is not the it is not the person that suffers. It is Christianity, right? It's the body of Christ that bears the brunt of all this back and forth. Similarly, when you act in a way that discredits when you act in an unethical way, it is accountant that it is discrediting. The reason why people are still registering for ICAN, the reason why people are still trying to do ICAN exam, even in today's world, is because they've seen that, okay, people that are accountants, they have a certain regard, they're able to earn well, they're able to do all of that. And that is why, people want to. And that's why people want to continually associate themselves. So imagine if all the accountants, they have gone to prison, they've gone to jail for embezzlement, they've gone to, you understand? Will you still be as interested in this profession as you are now? No. Okay. So that is one thing that we need to note out, that professional behavior just means that you must not put yourself or act in a way that brings discredit to our profession. Do be an accountant, even some organization, they tell you that as an accountant, if you are working with them, they don't want you to fly your shirts even when you're out of the office, just very small rules, because they are trying their best to, make sure that we don't act in a way that discredits the profession. So what I want us to do now, do you guys have the analysis of that past question, Abby? But okay, we're going to check. Let me even first go through this past question guide. So in May 2024, we have ethical theory. Can somebody help me note this down? May 2024, question 4, ethical theory. So for CSME, so what we did now is professional practice and code of ethics. So it has come out 11 times. This tells us that this is a very important chapter. Okay, so let's just open it. Let me take a screen grab of this. You said you should discuss the principles that Joab, as a chartered accountant, should comply with in the course of carrying out his ethics. So which principle should he do? It's not all the fundamental principles.
Mm-hmm.
So he should apply integrity, objective
Mm-hmm.
Confidentiality,
behavior.
professional behavior.
Okay. Yeah, give me another diet.
20.
May 15 and 2015. Question 3B, question 5, and question 6A. Under the same May 2015.
May 2015, question 3, Abby.
Yes, question 3B, question 5, and question 6A.
Okay, so question three is a case study. They said we should consider whether or not there's an ethical issue in this situation and whether we have to bring the value of the we have to bring the value of the warehouse to the attention of the retiring party and suggest what to do. So we'll discuss this one more in our conflict of interest. Somebody should note this down for us. So the second question three, question what? 5 and 6A.
Yes.
Take 5. Explain what is meant by public interest and indicate ways in which professional accountants and professional accountancy organizations are expected to show concern for public interest. So this kind of question, now, do you know that they're asking you the whole chapter we did today? You are supposed to explain public interest, saying that, okay, as an accountant, you have a responsibility to the general public with the information that you put out, right? And the ways that professional accounting firms are expected to show concern for the public is those things that we listed. They should not sign an information that they know that is misleading, right? They should not sign an information that they know that has been treated, has not been prepared rightly. They should not sign an information that they know that an element of truth in it has been concealed. And you can even now go for that. This is a 15 marks question. You can go for that to talk about all our fundamental principles and how the application of these fundamental principles. And why am I hearing myself? Hello? Okay. Thank you. So you can even now explain the fundamental principle and how the 5 fundamental principles together shows that these accountants understand that they have a responsibility to the general public and not just to their clients. So this is a 15 marks question. They literally just asked you the whole chapter. Okay? Because that is what started this chapter. Now for question 6, they said that you should explain the main difference between the business code of ethics and the professional code of ethics. So business code of ethics is the code of ethics that govern people in a particular trade. Like I was saying, that trade is different from profession. So you know how you have real estate like to dress well, you must have high skills in negotiation, you must be able to have persuasion skills, things like that. Those are the code of ethics for people in a particular business. While professional code of ethics are rules that are outlined for people that want to act in a certain profession. They must be followed through, you understand, so that that profession can be upheld and that the actions of those individuals do not bring discredit to the profession. You understand? So those are the professional code of ethics, and you can even now outline it. You know, it's a 7 marks question, but of course, you can outline it to say, okay, these are the 5 professional code of ethics that we have that govern accountants. Okay. So I always say is that when you are answering questions, be very open-minded. This is the reason why the question is not a what is question. This is the reason why what you are doing right now is not just skills, right? So they want to see your ability to apply or give the best solution as it may be required. Okay. So can you tell us another diet apart from May 2015? Hello?
May 2016.
2016. So you know that I told you about the fact that I told you about the fact that
May 2016, question 4.
yeah. I told you about the fact that CSME is the only course that you know where your questions are coming from every diet. You know that this diet, I'm going to see these 4 things. It is the only course that you know that in all of your exams, there'll be corporate governance, there'll be management, there'll be risks, and there'll be ethics in all of your diets. So that's why I always say that it has already given you a direction already. You understand? And that's why you should spend time trying to understand. Okay. Now we have that outline 4 basic steps that an accountant should take in consideration for making a moral judgment relating to his work as a professional accountant. I've not done that. Then we said discuss 3 basic moral perception of the nature of relationship between professional clients and professional accountant and the client. That one is in your chapter 17 that Mr. Ali is supposed to take. Then we have that highlight specific requirements of professional behavior that was consider in carrying out their professional responsibilities. specific requirements. Oh, let me look at this. Let me just go to the answer. 4C. 4C. What are the specific behavior? They say you should act with integrity, provide objective and free bias, use specialist knowledge, respecting confidentiality. Do you know that the answer to this question is your fundamental principle?
Oh.
Yes, they've asked you to list out your fundamental principle. So can you see? And that's why I always say that, there's nothing that is a one size fits all. You cannot come and say, oh, Christina taught me, she didn't teach me this part. Like I always say, this is why it is a professional exam. This is why it's not an exam that you come and then it is hook, line, sinker, because they want to also see your application of all this knowledge in your everyday life. You understand? The only time that it is wrong to read the question and read the answer is in the exam hall. But before you get into the exam hall, it's absolutely fine to go through a question and then go through the answer. Oh, this thing now it may look like we didn't treat this one today. We went to the answer to see that it was just fundamental principles, right, that were rewritten as requirements. Okay, so thank you. Another diet. They said present any 4 fundamental principles that should guide the actions of professional accountants in a way that will motivate a newly qualified accountant to comply with them. What are they asking you for here? Can somebody tell me what they're asking for here? Present any 4 fundamental principles that should guide the professional accountants in a way that will motivate newly qualified accountants to comply with those rules.
They're asking the 5 fundamental principles.
Well, they say you should discuss 4 out of the 5, Abby.
Mm.
So you just choose your best and discuss it. So you can see the same question, just different context. Exactly. So another diet.
Okay. May 2017. Question 2B.
You see what I'm telling you? It is in every diet. This is the only question. This is the only course that you know that every diet, I will see this topic. You understand? Imagine knowing that. This is question 2B. As an accountant, explain any 2 ethical principles or requirements that you consider in deciding whether or not to keep a promise to maintain confidentiality with regard to an information that you acquired from a client in the ordinary course of business. All this one are just plenty English. Give us 2 out of the various exemptions to confidentiality?
When
Somebody
it's
should let.
required, when it is required by the authority.
Exactly. When it's required by law, when it is needed for a court proceeding, and when it is required by an appropriate authority. Okay.
Or when the client gave the permission.
Exactly, when the client has given the permission for it to be disclosed, or when it is done for the professional's interest, Abby, to protect as well. Okay. Okay. You see 5 marks. Okay, take us to another diet. November, Abby, of that same diet. You understand?
No, 2018.
Oh, 2018.
Mm.
So can you see how sweet it is? Do a topic and go to the past question immediately. That is the best way. Don't compile your reading. Students will sit down, they'll reach chapter 1 to chapter 15. You've not done any past question. You now want to start past question. You now go and start from past question from number 1 again. You understand? These topics it's better to break them down. Do you understand? Break them down. When you read the chapter, go to that past question. Read the past questions on that chapter and acquire ordinary. Be sure that, okay, if they wake me up 2 a.m. and they ask me this particular question, right? Or they ask me this particular chapter, I know it. I know that I know it. Okay? Next one.
May 2018. Question 3 and 5.
May 2018. Question 3 and 5. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Question 3. As an accountant, explain the quality of professionalism that you need to exhibit in the discharge of your duties. So you're explaining professional confidentiality and so you're explaining professional confidentiality and due care, and you're also explaining professional behavior. Those are the two things that you are explaining in this context. Okay? Then I shall discuss the nature and purpose of our corporate code of ethics. So please, this is important. I think I saw the question somewhere. Let me just ensure the answer and drop it on the group. The nature, you will do it in one of the other chapters. Yes, I think it's in one of the other chapters. Hopefully in chapter 19, so that we look at it. Let me just do a screenshot so that I don't forget to. They said the nature and can you imagine? See this question that I said that professional behavior, that you should explain professional competence and professional behavior. They explain the five. They explain all the five fundamental principles. So, but that's not what they asked. Do you understand? You see, the reasons for code of ethics are those three things. I know that this particular question, the reasons for code of ethics are those three things. The reason why we study code of ethics, or the reason for the implementation of code of ethics, are those three things. Number one is managing for compliance, managing stakeholders' expectation, and creating a value-based organization. Okay? So the nature of code of ethics is just basically explaining that they are the ones that are issued by the board of directors, and the effectiveness of code of ethics depends on whether the management accepts it or not. Then there are three reasons, and then you explain this. I shall know that this particular subject. So please note it down. November 2018. May 2018, right? Question 3A. I. The nature and the purpose of code of ethics. That's why you have those three reasons why we study code of ethics. Okay? Okay, are you with me? Are you still
Yes,
okay?
ma'am.
Okay, so let's do another diet.
November 2018, question 4.
Don't worry, when we get to 2020, we'll stop so that I don't bore you guys. Or are you enjoying it? Or you are realizing that there's problem? No, it's okay. See how you feel. You know, a lot of information, to be honest. It's a lot of information. Okay. And 4, we said discuss the ethical consideration an accountant should attend to in the discharge of professional duties. They're asking you all the fundamental principles. What actions are you supposed to take in order to serve public interest? Explain the duty that you have to your public, and explain that you're not supposed to sign misleading information. You're not supposed to sign an information that some things have been concealed in it. You're not supposed to sign an information that if somebody uses suffer a financial loss. Then you see this question again. Discuss the nature and purpose of corporate code of ethics. So they asked it a diet before, and students did not know it. Then the next diet. How many marks?
20. 9 marks.
Exactly. So you can see 9 marks question. Okay. So let's do another diet.
May 19, question 4. May 2019, question 4.
Imagine. See it again. Explain the nature. It looks like this is a favorite question. Oh. Okay. So explain the nature of code of ethics. 3, we even broke it down. So the nature of code of ethics was 2 marks. 3 reasons for developing code of ethics was 6 marks. Then they said any 5 general provisions that the code of ethics should specify. That your normal code of ethics. They said 4 provisions or statement of code of ethics that companies should have in respect of their employees, and 3 in respect of their customers. So they're just asking you that what are the rules, what are the things that you can outline that are relating to your customers in your code of ethics? What are the things that you should outline that are relating to your employees? We're going to do this. We're going to do this in that chapter that you have the rights of employees, where they say like, well, not infringing on their basic human rights, paying them on time, you understand, things like that. It's also, we'll discuss it as we move on further.
Yes. May 2021.
Okay.
Sorry, November 2020. Question 6.
Because I know that they cannot take that long amount of break.
Question 6.
Okay. November. Okay. They said, explain what it means to act professionally. Explain what it means to act professionally in relation with ICAN Code of Ethics. Explain what it means to act professionally. So what does it mean to act professionally? 1 mark. I'm asking you guys one.
Okay, so it means to act in a way that does not discredit the profession.
They said discuss the behavioral attributes that will enable an ICAN student to act professionally. 6 marks. Discuss the behavioral attributes that will enable a student to act professionally. Is all your professional ethics now? Do you get? Then they said, discuss briefly acting in public interest. What does it mean to act in public interest?
Not to disclose false information.
No, act in public interest. It means that when you are working with a client, you must also understand that you have a fiduciary responsibility to the general public. Do you understand?
Yeah.
You have a responsibility to the general public, right? So how can you do that? Make sure that the things that you are approving, any information that comes from you, any information that has your signature, you have confirmed that it is correct, it does not contain any material error, and that anybody that relies on that information, can you hear me? Anybody that relies on that information will not suffer a financial loss. Do you understand? Hello, do you understand?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Next question. Differentiate between a trade and a profession. Let me look at these participants who has not spoken to us today. I've not heard some people's voice. I've heard Jacinta's voice today. What's your mom? You are quiet today. What happened?
Good morning, ma'am. Just joining.
How are you just joining? What or how? What happened? Are you okay?
Maybe I'll call you later.
Okay. Who again? I have identified that we have 2 new faces, Lukman and Adejo. I was talking to Adejo, the person did not reply me. No problem. Sundu, have you responded to us today like this? Or you don't have our time?
Yes, I've talked today.
Okay. Who again? Mrs. Mary Idoko. We didn't hear from you today. Oh. Can you hear me? You see?
Yes,
People
ma, I
that
can hear you. I've been talking.
there are differentiates between a trade and a profession.
Hello, ma.
Yes, I said differentiates between a trade and a profession.
A trade and a profession.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said earlier, a trade is different from a profession. A profession,
Mm-hmm.
there are some basic ethics. As a professional, there are some basic ethics that you are supposed to abide by. But trade, in the case of trade, is different.
Mm-hmm. So you have a point, but trade is basically business. Trade is buying and selling to make profit. That's what trade is. You understand? But a
Yeah.
prof is omo, a legally recognized job. You understand? That needs some particular certification before it can be done. For someone to be called a profession, it just means that not everybody can do it. You understand? But because you have acquired the necessary level of skill, you can now practice that particular thing as a profession. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So,
Thank you.
my people, should we do one more? Let's just do one more, one final one before we go. So let's do one more. Give me another diet. Oh yeah, person that's been calling diets for us. This one we're doing now was November 2020. So you
May
can give me an
2021, question 6.
okay, thank you. So they said, advise Mr. John on the fundamental principles which accountants are supposed to expected to comply by. 6 sweet questions. How many marks? How many marks?
10.
10 marks.
Very direct. So, to be honest, ethics is actually one part of your material that is very straight to the point. And what other advice is that please make sure that I just put it on. I also put it on the group. I will share the course allocation with you guys so that you know which tutor is responsible for what topic. And I know that he has like a higher percentage. So you guys are still on management now. The class is still long. This is just February. At least next week we're in March. Is next week March or we're still in February by next week? Let me look at the calendar.
March.
Okay, so next week is March. So March and April. Me, I like to give students 1 whole month to read. That is my style. But you guys are still in management and it has corporate governance as well. So please, just a reminder, when I share the course allocation, make sure that you remind him that these 2 topics are also his own under ethics. You understand? So from my allocation, our last topic will be treated next week. So, but I'm still around. Me, I'm not running anywhere. So I'll just allow you to fully take the course, and then a we'll determine a time that we want to do our revision. I'd like to do 2 revisions. The first one is to go over the things that we have learned, and then we'll do one close to your exam. By that time, you should have read. Okay? So everything is getting real low. May is closer than you think. CSME should be the course that you should be able to rest with. I know that PM, FR, they may want to even teach you the night to your exam. So, but if you properly understand your CSME, it should be a course that you should be able to relax with. Do you get me? So, there's no problem. I will just send the course allocation. And like I always say, my DM is very, very open. Very, very open. If you have questions, if you are reading something you don't understand, it's different from how I taught you in class that we are saying, or just anything at all. Please do well to just send me a message, okay? I'm more than happy to respond. Okay? Mhm. Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
That will be all for now.